So I did this special for you. You ready?
Yes.
Davide e Davide mostrare, episodio 20.
Molto bene.
Hey, Dave and Dave show, episode 20. Also, I was thinking,
Columbus Day too. You know?
no. I was thinking, especially where we're dressed today. I'm bad Dave. Oh, and you're good Dave wearing my old shirt. I know it, very nice.
Yes, that's because you're gonna be skinny Dave and I'm fat Dave.
Or I could be bad David Julius, and you could be good Dave.
Okay.
All right. So we got packed
Brain.
episode today. 20 episodes, huh? That we put out live.
Wow.
Nice. 20. Okay, that's 20. When you get a 20, it's 20 ounces. All right. So we're going to be talking about a couple of things today. We're going to get a little bit real. I'm the one who's going to be a little bit more of the attacker. The one that's not mincing words, and you're going to go the other way. We're also going to have Zim Jessa coming in to help us talk about the subject. And the subject is this: the iBuyer. First of all, what the hell is an iBuyer?
iBuyer,
right?
that's what
We're going to
you should
talk
start
about
with.
that. Then we're going to go, we're going to get a little racy. Convenience or con? Ooh. And then to do it, you got to be dumb or desperate. About that, and we'll jump in. Sound good?
Great.
First, we are going to start with, brought to you by, all done up, looking great, Ezzy
Esmeralda.
from Lawyer's Title. Come on in.
Morning.
You are going to be the calm before the storm, Ez.
Oh God. No, I'm saying.
Yeah. You and I are calm. The storm is sitting there.
I am the storm. Isn't that like a saying? So what's up, Ez? Ez is with Lawyer's Title.
Morning.
Lawyer's been with us from day one. We always like to bring that up because we value our relationships so well, and they took a chance on us when we were a chance.
Took a chance on
Took a chance. A chance on love, baby.
Chance.
So what's up, Ez? What you got for us today?
Well, first of all, I wanted to just say thank you for everyone who did attend my class for Dynamic Farm. It was a great success, and I believe a lot of the agents got a lot out of that class. I actually wanted to invite you guys to another class that we're going to have, a part 2. I don't have a date yet, but just keep it in mind because there was a lot to actually take in from that class. So we want to do a couple classes just to kind of get you guys going. You're not going to remember every single detail about this actual product, but for those that did not attend, this is our latest product that we have. It's for anyone that wants to actually do some kind of marketing with farming, or maybe you want to make calls, or maybe you just want to do email blasts. Whatever it is, you need something. And that's kind of, I think, what you guys are probably getting into with what's taking place in the market. And we've noticed that obviously it's slowing down. 1, it's this time of the year. 2, there is a shift that's probably going to be taking place eventually. But it's better to be ahead than behind. So if you're looking to do some type of marketing, but you don't know how to get started, please call me. That's why we're here, to help you. And for those that do need help with that Dynamic Farm that actually attended the class, I am making calls and emails. So if you don't get a call from me and you were there, just feel free to reach out and let's get together. Let's get you going. So that's what I have.
So, couple of things.
Well, I'm going to start. The kind thing that she just said was the market 6 months ago, you could walk in and you didn't have to do any farming and any working, and you had buyers and sellers all over. It has slowed down a little bit, and her class was jam-packed with agents. Part of the reason we believed was because the market has taken a little bit of a shift.
People got to work.
And they got to work.
They gotta work.
Exactly. So if you're looking to work and you want those tools, contact Esmeralda at Lawyer's Title.
And so those of you not with Urban Nest, because this is for everybody, Ez did a class for Urban Nest on dynamic farming. It was part 1. She can do part 2. That's just some of the things that she does for us. I'm sure she could do for you guys as well. And she's amazing resource in the company. Although she did say a slowing down market, so we'll get into that battle, that little rap battle later on about buyers or sellers market. So see how that look good?
Let's do it.
Also, a couple other things just for I like to push it really hard because they also offer us Breakthrough Broker, which is a great tool. It's
Absolutely.
something I would take a look at. It's a great resource. I think Breakthrough Broker does it better than all, if not all, brokerages on a back end kind of suite of resources. Everything you can
I
imagine.
agree.
So they're great on that. And that is about it. They got I hate to use the word stable, but it always comes, that word, it's just a stable of amazing escrow officers. Because I mean,
How about a plethora?
just, you know what I look at it like
Plethora.
strong horses. You know what I mean? Because
Our
they're
background, we
they're
had horses,
fantastic
but that's where he's going now.
over there. So I think that makes your job a little bit easier because you know,
It does. We do have some of the best escrow officers teams, and we just have a great team overall, from the receptionist to management to escrow to assistants. So if you haven't had a chance to actually work with us, give us a shot. We're here, and we promise you will not be disappointed. And those who are loyal to us, thank you so much. We couldn't do it without you. We're grateful that we are partners with Urban Nest. It's a great company to be a part of and to have us partners. And we're here from the beginning, and we hope to be here for longevity and
to the end.
To the end.
To the end.
To the end, to the end, to the end. To the
To
end.
the end.
As long as you have a beating heart.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Ez. We
Yeah,
appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, a couple updates before Azim comes in for the Urban Nest agents. We got Potluck, Thanksgiving Potluck
Potluck,
coming
November
13th. November 13th. I am the worst with potlucks. I will not eat food unless I know who cooked it. Is that bad? I usually eat just your food at the potluck.
I know.
I get a little, see who knows, the New York friends will know this and our Jewish friends will know this. Little skivats, little skived.
He's looking at how the kitchens look.
So,
It's a signature dish. We have a lot of fun. There'll be 200 people.
yeah.
I'll make 6 pounds of meatballs and
And I'll eat 3 pounds of them.
yes,
Gluten free, baby. Oh no, you put a little bit of
a little breadcrumb.
breadcrumbs in there.
Yeah.
Also, the 7th annual holiday party, baby. We have grown to the size that we're going to be at the top of the JW
JW Marriott.
Come
Yeah.
sit, Azim. You can be part of this.
Good.
brother.
Kit Kat.
Oh, then wait. So we will, we'll be
For
there.
those of you out there, don't you hate that skinny people are always eating candy? And we eat one.
What does Dave call me? What do you call me?
Skinny fat. Skinny fat.
I
Although,
think that's a restaurant.
Yeah.
that's right. They took the name from me.
They did. They stole it.
Sons of bitches. All right. Oh, here I curse again. Sorry. I'm the bad Dave. We talked about this. All right. So I was talking to Azim before this. We've had so many good conversations about this iBuyer model, right? The pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly. Who does it protect? Who does it help? Is it just a fad? Is it a trend? What's the deal? First, before we even start, just the name iBuyer, right? What is an iBuyer?
That's what I was going to say.
And you know what? It's not a real person. An iBuyer is literally like a robot buyer,
Yeah.
if you think about it.
That's an algorithm, right? It's a number.
Exactly.
Computer generated number that says, hey, we'll pay this for this house because we know we're gonna make this on the back end.
So let's explain exactly how this goes about. So we used to have these, investors come around, they try to buy, remember, we buy ugly houses, those
Yeah.
types, right? Things that would just sit forever. Investors come in, they buy houses for cheap, they pour some money into it, and then they resell. They got skin in the game, right?
Flipper.
Exactly. Now it's a different thing. It started with 2 companies that are Wall Street backed. And this is how it works. Wall Street dumps money into these companies. Blackstone, remember Blackstone, right? They come in, they purchase properties, and then they flip them. And basically what's happening is this. They come in and for convenience fee, they offer you less than what your house is worth. They charge you a fee with the promise of you don't have to put it on the market, you don't have to go through all the
All
nonsense.
the showings.
Exactly, because it's so
Or it's
difficult.
gonna take 45 to 80 days to sell, and
Yeah.
50 days after that to close, and
So pretty much Wall Street's buying your house. And I'm just going to give you the overview and then we're going to jump in. So Open Door, OfferPad, these are 2 companies that jumped into this space. Then we saw Zillow say, oh, wait a minute, we're going to jump into this space. Now we have Keller Williams jumping into the space. We have Realogy jumping into the space. A lot of people don't realize Realogy is Caldwell, Citrus 21, ERA. What am I missing?
Oh,
Sotheby's,
there's like 6 of them in there.
Better Homes and Gardens.
Yeah.
right? All of you kind of like legacy brands. Which just shows what an unoriginal copycat industry we are in.
Well, in protecting the industry, like let's jump on that for a second, right?
Let's start with that.
Right, are we not as realtors supposed to have the interest of the public in mind? Like, right, we are supposed to defend. I mean, I look at maybe maybe I'm reading the code of ethics wrong and took the oath wrong, but I believe it's our job to make sure that we're protecting the public, right? We're here to make a living. I'm not going to, hide that. Some of us do well, and we're thankful and blessed for it. But we're also here to make sure that we protect the public, do the right thing for the industry. Housing's a huge, huge part of our country's economy.
Yep.
And if, in my opinion, if companies, these brands are jumping in and I'll say it, taking advantage of buyers or sellers, I don't know if that's really protecting the industry.
And that's what it comes down to, disclosure.
And that's why where it comes down to the code of ethics.
And that's the thing. So,
which is a word a lot of people don't use right now.
They don't, and that's, and a lot of people don't know the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent, because I don't think anyone does a good enough job explaining.
Like saying Coke for any cola, or
exactly.
Kleenex for any tissue, right?
And the reality is this: without taking a pound of flesh out of these companies, let's just talk about the pro and the con. And the con, I think, is this: if I come to you and you're a seller,
I don't mind taking a pound of flesh out of them.
But they're also a lot of people talk about these are real estate companies. So code of ethics number one, we could talk facts.
They're a realtor brand, right?
Exactly, right?
But the fact is what the first fact is.
So let's talk about that. If I come to you, you're selling your house, right? Let's just pretend it's the one in Ivy Glen, right? You think it's worth, you've seen some friends in the neighborhood, you come to me and you think it's worth what, $350, right, at the time? And I come in and I say, Dave, here's what I'm gonna do. You don't have to put it on the market. You don't have to deal with the showings. You don't have to deal with the inspection, appraisals, nothing. I'm going to give you $335 today. You could live in your house until you find another house. Totally convenient. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to have to pay realtor fees. I'm going to have to. $335 is a great deal.
That includes a realtor fee.
Stay with me. Right? Without checking the comps, without doing anything. Now, if I come to you as a realtor and I give you the advice that your house is worth $335 according to my algorithm, right? And that you should purchase it directly from me.
Sell it directly to you.
Sell it directly from me. Do you think I am protecting you? Because I'm really the realtor who should be telling you. I'm like representing you in a way. So it's like I'm supposed to represent you as a seller, but I'm the buyer buying. How is that legal?
It isn't, according to being, if you're a realtor, it is not legal.
You're an unrepresented seller in that situation, right? I mean, the buyer is there looking after their own interests, right? Their incentive is to make as much money as possible. They're not there being, Dave, I'm here to help you out. And you know what? I know that there's no better option for you out there. This is the way you're going to make the most money. It's going to be the most convenient. They didn't ask your needs. They didn't say, hey, Dave, well, do you need to sell it today? Are you in some sort of financial hardship? No, they could care less. They're like, you know what? I'm going to buy Dave's house for $335 and sell it for.
Or even worse, you say to me, Dave, I only have to net $150, and I know at $335 you're netting $165. So I'm going to take advantage of you even more. And I'm going to offer you $15,000 less because I know what you have to net because you gave me that information thinking that I represented you. So let me explain this for you, for those of you, the public, the realtors, everybody doesn't understand how this goes. Let's talk about cars. If I go to sell my car, I could sell it privately. I can hire a dealer. I can sell it to the dealership, or I can go to CarMax, right? What happens is this: if I go to CarMax and they say, I looked on Kelley Blue Book, right? I looked on Zillow, and my house is worth $35,000. My car is worth $35,000. CarMax does the appraisal, they test all the stuff, and they come back and they're like, we'll give you 30. And you're like, are you kidding me? But you don't want to go through the hassle. You don't want to try, it's not easy, especially if you try doing it yourself. It's like a for sale by owner. You meet someone in a parking lot, you got to make sure their cashier funds you got to go to the bank with them. They're driving it around the parking lot. It's a disaster. So you're like, screw it, I'll give I'll give CarMax the house for the car for $30,000. Then you go to CarMax 2 weeks later, and it's listed in the lot for like $36,000.
And you say, there goes my $6,000.
20% gone. But at least if you're losing $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, I'm not saying that's not a lot of money, because it is. For a lot of people, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the equivalent. Company comes to you as a seller of a house, and they offer you $300. They maybe put a coat of paint on it, they maybe clean it up, and then you see it on the MLS 3 weeks later for $339, $349, and you lost $30,000, $35,000, and you're like, oh boy, now you're really upset, right? Because I don't care how convenient it is.
And a few lawsuits have come out of that already.
Well, there was an agent, we're not going to name the company, in California who bought the house directly from their seller for like, it was 60,000 under. It was 60,000 under.
He painted it.
And put it back on the market. And then all of a sudden, the seller who sold the house to the agent goes, "Oh my God, you took total advantage of me," right? So that's how it works, to give you an idea. Now, if you were an agent and you're buying your client's house, this is the disclosure. And I can't give other people advice, right? But I could just say, this is what I would do for our agents. I'd want a disclosure saying basically this. The open market, you're most likely going to get multiple offers. You're going to have 14,000 realtors looking at it. You're going to have 80 syndication sites looking at it that syndicate over to 900 sites. You're going to have competition. The market is going to bear a certain price for your house. By accepting this offer directly from me without going on the open market, you are potentially leaving money on the table. Sign away this, and that. You would almost have to, as an agent, try to talk the client out of doing it to protect yourself. That's how strongly I feel about it.
I do not like an agent buying a house that is not on the market. Because if the house doesn't, the market generates what the house is truly worth. We could do every CMA in the world and tell you, oh, the market analysis says 400.
Yep.
But if I get 5 offers at 420, then it's worth 420. So for an agent to buy it is a slippery slope, which is why Dave is saying the disclosures. And the only other thing with the iBuyer is I agree with everything you're saying, but also remember that it's done in this profession too. I don't want to make the iBuyer the only one.
Of course not. I agree.
Because you see a house come out, you look at it, you go, oh my God, that's like in Red Rock, that's 100,000 less than the market will bear. It's on the market for 0 days and double-ended. No different than
realtors are definitely to blame.
No different than an iBuyer. So I don't want to make it look like we're that devil. If you take a house and you list it and say I have a buyer and it's 0 days and you know it's 150,000 or 100,000 or 20,000 under, it's exactly the same as a Z.
It's like a pocket listing too.
Yeah.
Code of ethics though comes in there. Did you get your seller the top dollar?
You know, and it's unfortunately they're filling a void, right? There's a void in the marketplace, right? There's maybe not enough professionalism, not enough communication about the options out there.
Agreed.
And I'll argue, and I know I'm gonna throw it back on like the relationship part of real estate versus transactional, but if we're not staying in touch with clients and friends and family, like we don't know what their situation is, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I have 14 days to do whatever I need to do, and I need to sell my house today, right? Like if we're having relationship and with folks and being in touch with our clients, our past clients and whatnot, maybe we'll know about this problem that comes up that forces them to sell so quickly. Because
exactly, and how bad is the perception of realtors that sellers are saying, you know what, I don't want to deal with the entire process, and maybe I say dumb or desperate. I just wanted to get your attention. They're not dumb; they're just uneducated on the process. But they're so like, I don't want to deal with the process and the system and go through all the kabuki, the dance of it. Right. That I'm willing to leave so much on the table. I don't think they realize that they're going to leave so much on the table, but shame on the profession and the industry not sharing the story and educating them enough to know that, listen, if the best way to use these iBuyers is to get your offer and then contact your realtor and be like, they offered me this. And your realtor is going to be fair to you and say, it's not worth $335 they're offering you, it's worth $350. By the time the fees and X blah, 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 which Azim's going to talk about here, By the time we get to all this, you're going to net an extra $20,000 minimum off by going onto the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, what we're saying?
I think that it's a little bit, and sometimes we're blaming, these companies. I think it's a little bit of the seller's point that they get lazy and they don't want to deal with it, but they don't. I think the education is the most, because they don't realize they're not throwing away 2,000. It's not a bad night at Red Rock Casino. It is a lifetime loss that for many people is going to
Equity, appreciation, paying off your mortgage.
Everything that is going to be, I don't know any bigger investment that
People
pays
make.
like that. So I would be very careful.
There is a niche that these people fill.
Right.
There is the desperate seller that needs an offer immediately.
Emergency situation,
Yes.
No, we had an agent yesterday, and they were with one of these companies, the seller, and she said, I could get you at least 10 grand. She put it on the market, 3 offers, and she got them 10 grand higher than she would with 3 showings. Ooh, 3 showings she had to show the house. 3 showings, 10,000 more in a retirement situation. Come on.
It's like marrying the first girl that says, I'll date you. I mean, it's like, well, who did he marry? The first one that said yes. The reality is you want to see what the market will bear. It never hurts to see. And you said it. It takes literally, how long? I mean, you do what, like 180 listings a year. How long does it take for you to get the comp, listing, on the market, and ready to go and be able to see if the market will bear an offer? Like less than 4 hours?
Yeah, if it's, we could, obviously we have a system and a process, but I mean, if someone was like, listen, I need this money like in 30 days.
Yeah.
Like, can you get this on the market as quick as possible? We can run comps in an afternoon, have the paperwork done the same day, pictures done the day after, and on the market within, 48 hours. I mean, I don't like to put homes on the market without
But
pictures,
if
but
there
I
was
mean, if there was some sort of
a unique situation.
they were like, boom, you know what it is, what it is. Like if
The
you find-
iPhone works.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
can have-
that's
in
a
an
guerrilla
afternoon.
situation where it's like, well, I mean, by the time it's going to take for you to call the company, get the offer, get the inspection and that, I could have it on the market and someone
and
calling
probably
me.
an offer on the home, right?
Exactly. It just doesn't hurt. And I don't want to listen. I don't want to be the guy like, what is it, Occupy Wall Street? Remember that? I don't want to be like banging Wall Street's head against the wall. But when you're getting an offer, it's a motionless offer on your property right? And their goal is to create a margin. So immediately they want to make money off of you. Which, again, a situation where if you're cool with it, leaving money on the table and you need it, fine. But I want to disclose and just peel back the layer and show you what it is. All right, you don't have to say who this is,
Right.
but give them an idea of what an iBuyer
So
offer
I
is.
had a client who was in a tough situation, divorced. His wife wouldn't move out of the house. Right, the divorce decree said the house was his, he could sell it, and she wasn't leaving. And they came to an agreement. It took her about 90 days finally to get out of the house, clean her stuff out. So there was certainly a lot of emotional weight on this poor gentleman, right? Gets referred to me by a friend of mine who's a pool guy, and he maintains his pool. And so nonetheless, I go run a CMA for him. I'm like, listen, I think you can probably get about $435 for this home.
All right, $435 on the CMA.
So he goes, okay. And then he's like, listen, his wife was still there, and we were working on he was working on getting her out. So I come back in about a week, right? Everything's out. He's ready. He's like, listen, in the week I reached out to Open Door. Oh, well,
Okay.
right, Open Door. And, they came back with a number. They said they'll give me $425. He's like, listen, if I get $415, and he goes, they're going to come back and do an inspection and stuff still. Like, this was the initial offer. He goes, if I can get $415, I'm happy and done. I'm like, well, I'm telling you right now, like, you get $430. I go, we can price it a little bit lower if you want it sold like today, we can, if you're okay with that, I don't mind doing that. Obviously I don't want to leave it. And I told him, I don't want to leave money on the table for it. The money's there, right?
Especially in this situation,
Right.
money being split, the
Right.
whole
And
nine,
this
right?
is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, 3-car garage in the Southwest, with a third of an acre, with a pool, spa, palapa, end of a cul-de-sac,
Oh, wow.
beautiful home, right? I mean, like, when I pulled comps, there was nothing, not even one thing remotely close to it. And then the days on market for the comps were like 5, right? Average
So
days on market.
that's important. and I don't want to beat a dead horse with realtors, but we check everything. Average days on market in that community, 5. That means these days are going that fast.
For that type of home in the Southwest, because there's just, I mean, in that community there was nothing even like it. So I'm looking through. He sent me his little offer sheet to talk about, and so it talks about sell now to them, days on market 0, right? Traditional home sale 45 to 80. So he ended up actually going with them because he was just done. He was like, listen, I don't want to deal with it. I'm done with it. I'm sorry, like frustrated. And so yeah, anyway, so they said sell now to him, 0 days on market is what they tell you. They
Instead of 5, when they put 45.
They put 45 to 80. The actual, when it did get listed, it sold the next day, but we'll get to, it sold in 1 day, okay? Average days to close, they say it could take, or they're willing to 3 to 60, right? So they'll let you stay up to 60 days in your home, right?
Okay.
It says they're telling him that it's going to take 50 days to close, and that's from the time of the accepted offer.
Mind you, if you have a good realtor, you negotiate staying after the sale. This isn't something that is just exclusive to these companies.
We have a form.
I mean, we do. It's post-possession that anyone can negotiate a special situation.
So they're saying it's 80 days to find a buyer, or even 45. Let's take their low number plus 50 to close, so 95 days. They're telling him it's 90, right?
And I'm 6'5".
Do you want me to go into the actual there? So that from the actual, they allowed him to stay for 31 days.
Okay.
Okay.
Which would have been an easy on a property like this. A month layover would have been fun.
Right. Average number of showings, they say 0. The traditional home is 10 days. That's something I don't know. I couldn't tell. I mean,
10 showings. A little stat, little side. If you have 10 showings on your house, you should have at least 1 offer. If you have 10 showings with no offers, it means your price is too high. It means you have a pretty house, but it's too high. If you don't have 10 showings, then you're just in trouble. Keep going.
So the offer price they gave him, like I said, was $425,100, right? So I told him 430, right? They say 425.1. So in the ballpark.
He thinks he's losing 4,900 for convenience.
Right.
Now, mind you, Azim's being fair because you don't want to overinflate and make people feel like it's worth more than it is. The market will bear the structure of the cost, right?
So their service charge was $29,757, which works out to 7.5% of the 425.
You sure that's not 8%?
Let me double check that. I think let's see here. 420.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're 100% right. 7.5%.
Yeah. Okay. I myself, I can say what I charge. I charge 6%. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the list price that they sold it at, my commissions, and then split obviously 3% the other side, total would have been $26,760. So at a higher price, I would have essentially cost less than what Open Door
exactly.
Said it 10 times. So the company's charging. So
no, it's totally. So what Azim is saying is he was telling them that it was worth more and he was charging less. Simple as that, right?
Yeah. Cost of him was less.
So if he's
they would have netted a bigger profit.
Exactly, bigger margin.
So here's what happened. So
they
close on the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're also telling him that it's almost $17,000 in other closing costs. So saying we're contributing 3% to the buyer as well. Not only are you paying the 6% to the realtor is what their number as well put in here.
Now I'm 6'5" with a full head of hair.
Right, and they're saying, we only charge. You're only going to pay $4,200 if you work with us, or if you use a realtor, you're going to end up paying $17,000 in closing costs. Actual closing costs on that transaction was 0. Okay, when he did end up, or when the company ended up selling it, they listed it the next day.
While he was in it, or
no,
when he
the day that he closed. So
did they paint it? Do anything?
They did absolutely nothing. They changed the carpet in one room.
One room carpet, which is like $300 or $400.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, $425,100 was the offer price. They listed it the day after he moved out for $446,000.
Now let's backtrack for a second. They bought it for $425,000. $30,000 in fees came off the top. So really, they purchased it for $395. Correct? You with me on this? Then they turned around and listed it for $446.
And what happened?
It sold. It got an offer in 1 day. It didn't appraise for $446. So I'm happy with my CMA.
Good for you.
Yeah. But it ended up closing just over $430.
Okay.
Right. But if we were
right at your appraisal,
but if it was a cash buyer, that baby's at $446.
So he left almost let's see, I did the number at 46, but that's not the right number, so I take 59. So he left about $8,000 on the table for one day. Literally one day is what, I mean, the difference, right?
$8,000.
On that one day. And
I'll take an $8,000
and if they got that
paycheck.
446, you wonder too, if you had a realtor that would have been there.
There you go.
With some comps, meeting the appraiser. I actually suggested a couple of minor fixes, and he was willing to put up to $10,000 in the house. I said, here's a couple of things you can increase the value with, right? I met him with a handyman and a contractor. Here's some things that, we want, he had tile countertops, things like that,
But even then he got 446. So, and I'm not saying that the realtor on this wasn't good, but to go all the way down, you could have easily had someone come in with more cash. You could have had an appraisal waiver. You could have held out for a cash buyer. I mean, it was only on the market for one day.
Right.
When you go to the open market and you're doing it right, when people come with multiple offers and they'll say, I'll pay $10,000 above appraisal, and that was a hotter time.
Yeah, that's peak pool season.
You could have got, we're saying 8,000 technical cash, but he could have got up to 20,000 more in his pocket. But the choice should be, let me try all avenues of what we're doing and in real estate, and not just jump at a lesser.
See, the fairest way here would have been this, and you almost had him willing to do this, right? I know you got a little jumpy, but the fairest way would have been, or not even fairest, the fairest for him as the seller, or the smartest way would have been
Put it on the market.
put it on the market for a week, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
What's the worst?
Yeah, then I'll release it.
Then I can go back to take the offer at hand. I mean, so there. If I'm these companies, listen. I'll give you guys this little tidbit for free. If I'm you as an iBuyer company, I'm telling everybody, go list it with your agent first. See if you can get what you want to get. If you can't, then come to me.
Right. And then it's a viable situation.
That's insurance
much
for
better.
that company too,
Without
right?
a
They're
doubt.
not buying a property that's going to sit on the market like, whoops, our algorithm was wrong. Heaven forbid a computer, algorithm makes a mistake. And that way, I mean, that's insurance for these companies too. Be like, well, let's see, like if it doesn't sell on the open market in 10 days, like maybe, do we not want it as well?
Exactly.
Well, and then concern, I don't know if you were going to get in this, concern number 2 is, what if they do start sitting on the market? Then what happens when they start turning them into rentals again?
Like for instance, a lot of these companies, I know Blackstone, for instance, I think they own OfferPad, and I know they have a ton of inventory. So if they get caught, they could always become landlords like they already are, right?
Which is Europe.
And this is not like fear mongering, but tell me what you think of this. If Wall Street, Open Door, one of them just got a $3.8 billion influx of cash.
Wall Street fell 400 points when I left this morning.
But they're funding $3.8 billion. So they're giving them $3.8 billion to go out there and buy houses. There is a potential for these companies, by being backed by Wall Street, to own a lot of our inventory, and we become a nation of renters. There is that. Do you see that potential?
And their value is over $2 billion right now.
You see where I'm going with that, or no?
No, I don't think in our lifetime, but
I
Maybe
think it
your
could be
lifetime.
though. No, I
maybe my
Maybe
life.
your lifetime.
not the next year. All right, my lifetime.
No, but this is a good point. You just listen. Is it bad? Is it good? That is really not even for us to judge. This is about telling you both sides of the story,
giving you the
educating
knowledge.
the public,
right.
And you know what I do like about these companies? It is an accountability wake-up call for realtors to get on their game. Because you have to understand how the whole market works. And there is a place for this. If you came to me and you're like, I got to sell my house yesterday, I have $1 in the bank, and I need to purchase it, and I had the money, I'd be like, well, I could buy it from you, and then I'd make you sign the 10-page disclosure. Or I have 3 friends who invest and would love to buy it.
And if you go back to old school, let's go back to my day of old school. There was the real estate companies that say, if we don't sell it, we buy
In
it.
30 days, yes.
In 30 days.
But there was a
And
little
that-
asterisk.
Yes, and it's 80% of the
That's hair popping up.
heads coming back. It's like it used to be
Homer
80% of
what
the
you
value.
listed at? Yeah.
No,
Is that what it was? 80%?
80%. So are they lying? No, they bought it, but it was 80%. So no different.
Well,
Just a different
thing
way.
about, like, you talked about We Buy Ugly Houses and those guys. Like, if anything, I've said that these guys will at least force us to have a relationship with local flippers. I'd rather have someone local that I know is going to turn around and sell that home to someone else locally, put that money back into our, economy in the city, right? Like, there's other options out there, right? We work with two people that, if people say, well, I want to get a quote from these iBuyer folks, we're like, listen, we got two people we work with as well, we're going to bring them in and let them give you some numbers as well, right? So,
See, and I don't even care if they do it. I just want people to go into every situation with their eyes completely wide open.
Right.
And I want them to know it. And again, convenience or con. It's just getting your attention.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are going to get this convenience and you're going to sell it quickly, I want you to realize what you're giving up. Because for some people, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But I think a lot of people don't understand. And let me give credit where credit is due. The marketing behind these companies is spot on.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing better marketing and telling a better story than realtors across the board.
But are they telling a real story?
well, they're telling you it's going to take 45 to 80 days to sell your home,
Yeah.
50 days to close.
And plus, how disastrous is it to show your home? It's not really a big
Well, that's a
deal.
good point. They're telling a story, but it isn't necessarily such a real story.
Right, I
Yeah.
mean,
It's a story.
Right.
It may not be the story.
I mean, I
They're
sold
framing it
20
really well.
houses while I lived in it. It's not so I have to make my bed every morning? I mean,
And open the blinds.
yeah,
It's not-
why is it such an inconvenience to do it? I don't see it. And listen, if they were giving me same money, I'd jump right at them. But for a shot for more money, maybe I'm greedy or maybe I'm smart. I'm going for the shot for the more money.
Why wouldn't you? But I welcome the competition, though. That I do. Now here, I'm going to flip. I'm going to go a different way with this. How do you think the iBuyer model works in a declining market?
Some of the iBuyer situations that I have seen, I went, holy, I wouldn't have given you that money. So to Azim's point, it may not show that it backs 95 in the algorithm.
Yeah.
So now you have a house that backs a highway that they're comping to the house that backs another house 5 blocks in. Big difference. So you
It's
have,
like trying to buy a house off a Matterport. You got to feel it, touch it, right? I mean,
and we had this conversation yesterday, and it is the biggest purchase. And I may start online, but I am going to be in that house and in that neighborhood.
and even this estimate, Zillow will tell you they're like 8 to 10% off. Their algorithm it's
Right.
one of the worst in Las Vegas. So trying to but that's a good point. That's not the question I was going towards though. In a declining market, they have, in my opinion, they have an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is there are less buyers, so it's more attractive to get an offer from them, right? Because they're people are more desperate. Things are staying on the market
And
longer.
people are going to turn to them more because they're going to get scared.
But in a declining market, their margins may disappear, and it's a bigger risk for them. So how do you think they shift or pivot on this? Or do that?
It's like that technology curve we all took in marketing, right? Like, the early adopters and,
Yeah.
right now I think we're in the lagging people, like the people that are like, oh, prices are high, we better sell. But I think as we're coming to this, more, we're going, I see this talk online, maybe slight shift of topic about, we're transitioning, we're softening. We're just going from an astronomical market to a regular market, right? Like, we're at 2.5
We'll
months
get
of
to that.
right? We're not.
But that's now. But I'm saying, when we finally
On
go...
that note, I'm getting a cup of coffee.
No, so
Can't keep him in one place and one time. So we're coming down, let's say it's 3 years, 5 years, we're going down.
it's the people that listed right here as the market's going like this. Now, they were expecting to sell because these guys are only taking 2 days to sell. Well, they're expecting to sell in 2 days, and 2 weeks later they're on the market, and they're like, oh my gosh, my house hasn't sold.
Yep.
So they're the ones that are probably going to jump to these iBuyers because they're paranoid, and unfortunately, it hurts our brand and reputation. We need to do a really good job of educating people about current market conditions and being honest and upfront with them. and setting realistic expectations.
It doesn't make sense though. And you know, I've listed so many houses in my life, and sellers just getting a price reduction is like trying to break an arm, right? And I understand, because when I'm a seller, this is the beauty of realtors. Do as we say, not as we do. Because when we go to sell our houses, we become exactly like a seller, right? Thinking our house is worth more than it is, not wanting to reduce the price, wanting to give it time on the market. So it's so hard to get sellers unemotionally attached to this, yet the iBuyer offer comes in lower than the price reduction, but because they know it's a sure thing, they're taking the offer, right? So that tells me a couple of things. One, if you're a seller and you're willing to take an offer below, list it like that, right? Because you're probably still going to get higher than what you want.
Yeah, let the market bid it up.
Exactly. And don't get stuck in that mindset of, you know what, I'm going to hold on, and then just give it away. Because that's what's happening. Hold, and then finally just get so frustrated, I'll take any offer. Right? Reduce first, give the market a chance.
Have a plan.
Exactly.
Right? So again, like when we sit down with people, we're like, okay, like we're gonna start here, we're gonna give it 21 days at this number, right? And depending on traffic, use all the things, right? We have the tools, we have lists out here in this office, like use the tools to figure out what.
There's still a question, and I don't know if you have the answer. I don't think he does. I don't know if I do.
That's why he left.
But exactly, talk about dodging the question.
Sure.
I would love to know what's happening in those rooms with, okay, our model is to buy for a good price and then turn around and sell it for a margin, right? But the market is, not right now, but in the future, eventually, sometime, again, 3, 5, 7 years, whatever it is, we don't have a crystal ball, when the market's going down, and every month, instead of seeing a 1.7% jump like we just did, we're seeing a 1.7% slide, right? How do they say, all right, we're going to buy it and then flip it and not lose money? It's very interesting.
Do they pull the Blackstone again and buy and hold, rent it for
that's
12,
the only
18,
thing I can
24
think.
months?
It's the only thing I could think.
And then get out, but like, even when they were doing that during the short sale times, they weren't making at least, and I heard second and third hand, they weren't making the revenue projections that they expected.
So then, not to get super deep down the rabbit hole, we'll get off this horse because I want to talk about how it affects the high-end market. But what happens if Wall Street tanks, right?
And they got to fire sale all these homes and crash the market because they need,
they need
the money, right?
So there's a danger there, and that's probably above my pay grade. What do you think about the iBuyer and the 500,000 and above market? Because we're not seeing them.
I heard the max was 7 through some, again, secondhand information, never seen it or read it anywhere.
I don't see
I heard 700 was kind of the cap, but it could be less.
And I think there's a couple of reasons. I think once you start getting higher end, people maybe they have more equity, whatever, and there's bigger margins to lose. 3%, 4%, 5%, 7%.
Right, when we talk about it, when I was saying where they could do 0 days, we're talking about 100,000 now, not not 7 or 20. You're talking 100, 150, and usually people in the higher end don't have the desperation point that the person at the lower end has. To be fair,
Plus, they're taking a bigger risk.
right?
Higher end, longer days on market. They know the numbers, and this is the question: Is it an ethics violation for them to put in writing your estimated days to find a buyer 45 to 80 when the stats in September
there it is.
was 70% of all homes listed were in escrow within 30 days.
27 days on Friday. We pull stats weekly. 27 days on market.
So is this a bait and switch? And that's the thing where
and
it's
then
like,
it goes. Can you find stats to meet your
manipulate the stats?
exactly? And that could be done any day of the week.
So a lot of interesting conversation on this.
My end take on this.
Yeah, what's your last takeaway?
Is check everything. Everything's out there. Check everything. Don't be lazy. It's the biggest sale of your life. Meet with your agent. Meet with the person like Azim. Meet with them, any of the companies that are out there, and do the best for yourself in your situation. But meet with all of them. Know your options before you take 1, 2, 3 meet 1, 2, 3.
Last take.
Is this Urban Nest or public? Either
Oh,
way,
both.
public. Okay, so well, for realtors, right, that are watching this, partner with some of these companies, We Buy Ugly Houses, or find a local person that is a flipper that's willing to do the same sort of thing. Because listen, I'd rather have the money in this community. If someone is in the situation where this is unfortunately the right thing for them, that they need to do this and take a bit of a loss on market value because they need it today, find someone local, right? Let's keep the money in this community, right? And then part 2 of it is for the public. Guys, you're leaving 2, 3, 5, 8. You know, if this home did actually sell for 446, which I think, you know, if we gave it another month, it would have, right? If you had more than one offer, you know, you could probably negotiate something to get significantly higher. You know, that you left $21,000 on the table at that 446 number. That's, you know, that's certainly worth
That's
5 mortgage payments. I mean, gosh,
That's 5% almost.
yeah, it's 5%, exactly. So the money's there, guys. Just I realize things are tough, and if you know something's coming, get in touch with a realtor ahead of time and work out a plan ahead of time so you don't have to fire sale and give it away, right? I mean, desperation unfortunately causes things like this.
And my final take on it is this: number one, never trust anybody who says trust me. Right? That's that. So if I'm coming to you saying your house is worth this and I'm going to buy it from you from that, I have way too many hats I'm wearing for you. That's number one. Number two, you have to be educated. That's the whole point of us doing this show, is to educate the public, the industry, the professionals, our agents. Educate. You want to go an iBuyer program? Go for it, but know what you're giving up and know what you're getting. Know the pros and the cons. Know the upside and the downside. You got to know both. You got to be educated in the relation. And then do what you want. I love competition. I love that the originals are doing something a little bit different. The copycats, that's a whole nother video for another time. But just be educated and be with that. Lastly, let's just touch upon the market. Quick update, market update. You talked a little bit about it. The stats are basically this: median price just hit 300,000. First time since 2007. Our peak was in 2006. So our peak was 315. On the way down, 300,000 was when we peaked and went down. 2007, we were on our way down. 11 years since we've seen this price, right?
Yep.
We keep having this continual conversation, buyer seller's market, or is it an equal market? Azim touched upon the fact it was a crazy seller's market. Now it's still a seller's market, but closer to the middle. Where are you at with this?
Buyer's market.
You are such a
So
stubborn
2.5 months? Is that the new? And it could be. I mean,
And
that's
here's
the thing,
my
right?
answer. When
So-
you guys quote 2.5 months,
2.5 months supply. So we're saying basically a 75-day supply, normal market, 4 to 6 months supply.
right?
Continue.
And my answer is I have a month supply of buyers.
So I will tell you, yeah, and so is
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God. You
Yes.
can't do it like that.
I'm doing my own way.
so is 2.5 months. It could be the new normal though, right? Like this
Yeah,
is the thing, right?
exactly.
So we've gone in 2007, like pre-crazy technology. Obviously, there was technology, there was the internet,
Yeah.
but like now we're in the smartphone era. We're in the instant,
Gratification.
yeah, right. So maybe that is maybe people in the early 2000s were willing to wait, 3, 4, 5 months, and maybe realtors were willing to show homes 5 a day for 3, 4, 5 months.
Yeah.
But today's market, there's a lot more information out there, so things do move quicker. So, and maybe, we'll know. Unfortunately, I don't think we can answer if 2.5 months is the new normal for a few more years.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If 2.5 months seems to be, the healthy market amount of inventory on the market, maybe in 2 years from now, then maybe we can say, hey, you know what? Maybe Papa Dave was right. Maybe it was.
Papa Dave, I
Right?
like that one.
So, we use that 4 to 6 month benchmark because
Yes.
that's what it's been forever.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe it is changing, right? All things changed. Everything speeds up with technology. Maybe we're at the point.
And that
that's
being
not the big
said,
number, though.
I'm not a guy that gets stuck.
No.
I could say buyer's market the next 2 months, and then come January 1 say seller's market. Because right now we have single family homes 6,200, 6,300. Up from the low of like
6,200, 6,300 homes without an offer available.
Right.
Single family homes. Right?
versus the 37, 38 that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So
2,200 in February. Whatever.
right, exactly. So it's a supply and demand thing, but at the same time, you have to realize that you could do it at a snap, but at the same time, we don't have the buyers to buy the inventory.
Yes,
So
we do.
that's why I say it's a buyer's market.
So this is where I'm at. We were like this, right?
Yes.
With prices. Boom, boom, boom. Right? We were seeing huge gains. Now I just believe instead of going like this, we're going like this. We are up 1.7% just from the month before, 13.5% year over year, okay? And the telling stat is we're turning over inventory rapidly. You know, the fact that 70% of all that inventory is gone in 30 days. 86.6% of the inventory is gone within 60 days.
Well, first of all, it was spoiled because it used to be 100%.
93.5% of it is all gone within 3 months. Just gone.
So,
Wait,
go ahead.
And the reality is that you just can't keep going up because we have dated inventory,
Right.
and when it's not dated,
Dated for Vegas, in all the other markets.
yes, we're spoiled.
We are so spoiled. And all-
1995.
Yeah,
Oh,
Dave was raised
disgusting.
in a house that was built in 1930 and lived there for 18 years. So, dated in Vegas, but
But if it's this pretty, just a little bit of new floors, or painted cabinets white, or a little bit of granite or quartz, or a nice backyard, this little nice, it skyrockets the price. You then go past all the comps, and it sells quickly for a high price and in 3 days. And that's what we're seeing. So people aren't having the foresight, at least the normal buyers aren't having the foresight to say, you know, if I give this a little TLC, I can get a great price for the house that's dated, but I got to put some sweat equity into this. And maybe they don't have the money because you can't finance it in. and
here's
things
the
like that.
reality. This is out to the public and to the realtors. But here's reality. The reality is if you're a buyer, there was no inventory and you had a hard time buying, you have a little easier time to buy. So buy it now when you could turn around and be able to get a house, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons they say a lot of our buyers went away is they say they rented and quit.
Yeah.
And they're stuck in leases for a year because the inventory was so tight. The tax plan in the states that have state tax begins this year, and January 1st, they're going to realize how much more they're paying
We may get more
to
California buyers.
to
yes.
live in other states, California, New York. So the reality is we are what I
Illinois.
call a sweet spot right now where we have inventory and you're looking to buy, the interest rates are still great. This is the time.
Yes.
So
And
that's all I'm saying.
We're
for-
becoming more of a regular city, right? I mean,
Yes.
for years and
Right.
years, we were, with the casino workers were the majority of the workers, and people
Right.
worked around their schedule to service the casino workers. As we get more and more diversification of industry here in this town, which we've had for the last 7-8 years, I've really noticed. Like last year, I felt like we were super busy until Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving came and it just slowed down, right?
Yeah.
So know the market conditions, know the trends. This year, I felt as we continued to have more and more folks come here from other higher tax states, California and whatnot, they were all wanting to move before school started. And our
Yeah.
school starts early here, right? Middle of August. So middle of August, towards the end of August, done, right? Like the market, I don't want to say done, it certainly slowed down, right? That big influx came, and now we're into the regular market, right? All the people rushing to get here who are overbidding, pushing prices up because, hey, 10, 15 grand in California, right?
Yeah.
Cash, like, oh, I'll pay 10 grand over a house. Like, that's nothing to them. But to us, obviously, it's a big number. Those folks have come, and we're becoming a normal market. I've noticed, it seems to be slower this year after school started. And I'll be interested in seeing what happens after Thanksgiving. Will it be, more of a traditional drop-off? So next year, are we going to be that February through, July, August market like most cities? Like, boom, springtime, summertime, and then the off-season, if you will.
Well, doing the stats last year, and this is we're right up on where we usually end the meeting. Last year, when we were talking about historical numbers, we for the last actually year and a half, 2 years, we went right through what we normally did. It usually would slow down, and everyone was telling me, home warranty companies, home inspection companies, title companies, this is a crazy summer. Usually we get a break, and we didn't get a break. That was last year. Remember that? We usually get a break, and we didn't get a break. This year we got the break, and everyone freaked out because it wasn't like last year. So final take, I believe, is this. I agree with my father on one part of it. it is a much better time for buyers now than it was 6 months ago.
Yes.
We all agree on that.
You bet. Go out there because you have options now that
You
you
do.
never had.
You more negotiating power, more inventory. Sellers, you didn't lose any of the equity that you made in the last 5 years.
Instead of setting the new market price,
Yes.
you're just gonna match the high.
Perfect. We all
That's
agree
what
on
I
that.
all say. I
Yes.
say it in every class. Don't raise it 20,000 to that high.
Right.
Just match the high, and right now you'll be great. But to go over the high right now will make your listing unselling.
Unless you have the unicorn.
Yes.
This poor guy had the unicorn.
And then
He did.
But he
Yeah.
didn't know he
And
had.
he let it go.
Yeah.
Well, that's somebody, Jason Fisher. He was calling you Azim the Dream. Azim the Dream.
He's
That's
got a
what
worse
we-
nickname for me when we play squash, so I'm glad he didn't put that on there.
And he's saying that young Dave is right. He's a smart attorney. He's saying that I'm right. I'm putting it out there.
Top attorneys in LA.
Exactly.
40 or whatever he got. So.
Well, that is it. We hope you brought value. If you see value and you want to share it with your friends and family and industry partners, please do. You're more than welcome to. And thank you for Azim the
Thanks
Dream
for having me, guys.
for coming in.
Azim the Dream.
Dream.
I
Take
like
care.
it.
All right. Bye-bye.